Hey, aloha. It's been a while since I've done a formal video. But anyways, so I just got something from Amazon today. Amazon Prime. I know exactly what it is. I'm going to cut this sucker open and reveal it all to y'all. If you notice, I've been doing a lot of videos lately about the Hawaiian sovereignty movement and how it's been progressing. So that's why I went ahead and I purchased this video. This came out in 2009. Princess Ka'iolani. She was one of the members of the Hawaiian royal family. And quick history about her. She was ran out of her country when the American settlers of Hawaii came in. They ended up becoming plantation owners, which ended up outnumbering the native Hawaiian population that lived there in the islands. And of course, Princess Ka'iolani, she was sent away to England to run away from the trials and challenges that Hawaii was going through at the time with the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom. And then, of course, when King David Kalakaua passed away, our Queen Liliuokalani, resumed the throne. And then I think shortly after Queen Liliuokalani, shortly after she assumed the throne, that's when the illegal overthrow happened in January 17th, 1893. And after she was thrown under house arrest in her own palace, I think maybe a couple years later, after Queen Liliuokalani had passed, which was in 1899, if I'm not mistaken, that's when Princess Ka'iolani returned home from England. And she was very well educated too, by the way. So there's some things that I've noticed in the trailer where people really dogged us. They treated us a lot like the Native American Indians. And when I say they, I mean Americans, white Americans. And not only Americans, but even Europeans. And this is where the white supremacy comes into play. It all generated and started from Europe. And so when we talk about white supremacy, we got to know exactly what we're talking about. And of course, sadly, here in America, a lot of it is still going on today. So, like I said, a couple years later, Princess Ka'iolani came back from England after she went through her fair share of trials in England, where they were calling her a barbarian and all that stuff. That, oh, your way of living is a barbaric lifestyle. We don't care, you're a princess, blah, 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 blah. We're going to teach you of our ways. And that's exactly how Americans also thought, white Americans. They thought the same way. So they did what their European counterparts did to a lot of other ethnic groups. So anyways, not even realizing that Princess Ka'iolani is actually pretty well freaking educated. She's very well read. She's very educated in what she's doing. And she was sent to England not only to run away from everything that was happening, but she also became well educated that she understood under international law that what America was doing to us was in fact oppressing a country. Okay? Oppressing a country to a country that was already given federal international recognition, oppressing a country to become a part of the United States. Our people, this is what a lot of Americans don't realize. A lot of Americans believe that Hawaii wanted to become a part of the United States because 93% of Americans voted for it. It's like, okay, yeah, but who were those Americans? Think about it. Those Americans were white settlers, congressmen as well, who voted for statehood. And that's why Hawaii became a part of the United States in August 21st of 1959. Not because Hawaii wanted to be a part of the United States, but because we were oppressed and forced into it. If a lot of you study Hawaiian history, like really, really study authentic Hawaiian history, not the brainwashing version of the government of the United States education system, you would know that in 1897, 1898, and 1945, Hawaii was illegally overthrown. And those years I just listed down, Hawaiians, Native Hawaiians, more than 90% of Native Hawaiians, those years, 1897, 1898, and 1945, 90% or more Native Hawaiians signed petitions to decolonize Hawaii. And yet, August 21st, 1959, the outcome was still statehood. We became a U.S. territory, I believe it was somewhere in the year 1898. And so when all that happened, of course, the Native Hawaiians were forced into American society way of culture, which meant we had to get rid of, or not we were forced to get rid of a lot of our practices, like our culture of dancing the hula. We couldn't olelo Hawaii no more. Our keiki were reprimanded for speaking Hawaiian in school because in the 1900s, early 1900s, I believe it was 1900, Native Hawaiians were banned from speaking their native language, which is Native Hawaiian. We were also banned from practicing the hula because to American settlers, it was grotesque. It was disgusting. Not realizing that was a part of our culture, and for many reasons why it was a part of our culture. What else? We also had our own martial art that we studied, which in short is called the lua, because European and American settlers thought it was too violent. And why? Because it scared them that we would whoop them? That's just my honest opinion, honestly. I really feel like they feared us in that sense that, oh gosh, these guys know how to break bones. They know better hand-to-hand combat than we do, which we really did. Our form of martial arts was focused on breaking and dislocating bones and joints. So our people knew the body chemistry of how we could kill somebody with our bare hands. We didn't need weapons like modern day guns, like the Europeans or the American settlers needed. We also had such a sophisticated martial art that every culture used spears. I'm very sure of this. Every single culture, from European to American to Chinese, Japanese, even Polynesians and Native Americans all used spears. But we were the only culture that taught our people what to do if a spear was coming right at you. I remember as a little kid. Now, when I say little, I don't mean that little. I'm 34 now. What I mean is that when I was like in high school, okay? So when I was still a keiki at the time, I remember in my Hawaiian arts class / Hawaiian history, they taught us games, and a lot of the games, just like Native American Indians, they played games like lacrosse, for example, and it was all in practice for war. A lot of the games that even Polynesians, like Hawaiians, we played was all in practice for war. And one of the things that we were taught was when a spear is coming at you is how to deflect a spear from hitting you with your bare hands or also catching a spear. Now, even the Greeks didn't know how to do this. The Greeks, I wouldn't say they didn't know how, they just never practiced. Hawaiians were so sophisticated and intelligent. They made sure that every aspect was covered. Because once again, like I mentioned, in Lua, our martial art was all focused on hand-to-hand combat. So everything was go, 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 go. The only way that you would be able to win in a fight is you outnumber your opponent and you're just on the move. You're going. So that means the more men you kill, immediately you're protecting the guy next to you and the other guy to the side of you. And possibly behind you. So that's why Lua was so structured in that form. Another thing about Lua was, too, that as soon as an ali'i, king, now not chief, okay? There's a difference between chiefs. Yes, we had chiefs, but ali'i, this is the sad part also, too, about American history, or also Western society history. They like to use the word ali'i, which is spelled A-L-I, Okina I, which some people call the comma in between the two I's, but we call it Okina. The word ali'i means king. So we came from a royal monarchy, okay? So a lot of you Western Americans and even Europeans, please get that through your head. So that way when Hollywood always like to say, oh, they were chiefs, or they use the term chiefs, like in Moana. That's a huge offense. That's the only one thing I would say that was possibly pretty offensive. Hawaiians and Polynesians did not have the same kind of status as Native American Indians. We had kings, we had royalty, we had queens. The only difference between European version of kings or Western society culture of kings is they own land. Our Polynesian ancestors did not. They gave back to the people. So the Ali'i, as soon as going back to where I was originally trying to talk about, the Ali'i, as soon as they would step off, depending on which islands they're going to, nearby neighboring island, like let's say a king or an Ali'i from Hawaii Island, Big Island, wanted to go to Maui. The way they were tested, this is how sophisticated Lua was. Even the kings, as soon as they stepped off the canoe, they were tested. They had at least one spear thrown at them. Crazy to think about. And their power, mana, as we call, or your worth and an influence as an Ali'i, was measured by how you paired with the spear. Pretty cool. Another cultural practice that was banned was speaking our native tongue. So many things were banned. All because the American settlers wanted to be comfortable in a foreign land. Which I get it. You do want to be, if you go into somebody else's house, you want that comfort, because what you're used to isn't there anymore, and everybody's minds just go crazy. Like for example, for me, coming here to the continental U.S., I live out in, might as well say St. Louis, Missouri, because that's the closest major city, but officially the city I live in is O'Fallon, Missouri. So coming from Hawaii, of a culture where we're so tight-knit, to coming out here where everybody's kind of like desegregated, I don't feel comfortable. But does that mean I'm going to force the United States to bend to my way of living? No. I'm still going to practice my culture no matter where I'm at. I'm still going to practice my ways no matter where I'm at. And I'm not going to force other people to practice what I believe in so strongly and value. And sadly, that's what a lot of Americans did during that time. And sadly, you see a lot of that still going on today, very strongly. There's Americans that believe that Hawaii is a part of the United States, legally. And then there's also Americans that don't believe it, that it's legal. And do believe that Hawaii should be given back its sovereignty. So that's why I purchased this video, because this is something that I really want my kids to really know about their history and their culture, about why things happened the way they did. And, to have that that strong faith that one day sovereignty will return. And it will. Our independence will return, whether a lot of you Americans out there want to believe it or not. It is going to happen in this lifetime. I already signed my forms to repatriate as a Hawaiian national and to expatriate as an American citizen. Because honestly, that's, by Native Hawaiian blood, that's where my patriotism falls under, is protecting and preserving my culture, protecting and preserving the throne, not the United States Constitution. Because even Americans are breaking the American Constitution every single day. Even the ones that say that don't break it, they still do. Because the ones that are opposed to us, Native Hawaiians regaining and reclaiming back our sovereignty, and even against Native American Indians who rightfully own this land that I live on now, they oppose it, which means, therefore, they are breaking the American Constitution every single day. Whether they believe it or not, they are breaking the American Constitution. So to me, it's like, why do I want to be a part of a culture of supremacy that thinks it's okay to do things like that, to commit an abuse 128 years ago, and even way before Hawaii was here in America. And they, they took it under their own hands, like, okay, you taught us how to live in these lands, now we're going to take over. And in their eyes, because we were so-called savages or barbarians, they wanted to teach us a better way. And then the other thing that a lot of Americans don't realize is that before the White House, this is how progressive Native Hawaiians were, and Polynesians in general. Native Hawaiians were very, very progressive people. Unlike European pioneers who came here to America, they needed a compass to stay on course, to make sure they were going the right way. Yeah, they might have used the stars and other things, but not as sophisticated as the Polynesians and Native Hawaiians. Native Hawaiians knew how to travel from island to island to island, and all Polynesians, by using the stars, the moon, the sun, the wind, and the birds. They knew as long as there were birds nearby, there was land nearby. The other thing I found very interesting was that experienced voyagers, Polynesian voyagers, knew how to navigate the currents of the ocean by feeling their scrotum moving in their testicles. You can laugh all you want, but that was something I looked up and I researched. That was very interesting to me to find that out. To me, it's kind of cool, and it's also a little gross, but you think about it, by any means necessary, that's how the Polynesians voyaged. It's so cool. I love our culture. I'm so proud to be a Native Hawaiian. I'm so proud to be a Polynesian, and I am very proud that my children have that opportunity. So, yeah, of course, when sovereignty comes for Hawaii, which I am so rooting for, it's about time that Native Hawaiians claim back their aina, our aina, to preserve it for our keiki. This is something our kupuna should have had. But they fought for it. They fought for it long and hard. They educated the younger generation like myself and my keiki. So I am so grateful for that. Well, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. You all take care. Have a blessed day. And once again, take a look at this video. Take a really good watch, because I'm going to do that today. And then the next thing I'm going to do on my next video is give my reactions to it, of how the movie went, and what my thoughts and takeaways are on it. Because honestly, I mean, for many people out there, they should take into deep consideration that what's being done to Native Hawaiians and natives all over, not just in Hawaii, but even places like Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, where else? Alaska, even here in the continental U.S. and Canada. Natives have no say. And that, to me, is extremely sad. Because when natives have no say to their own land, we can't control our own destiny in that land, in our own universe. And that is extremely sad. Anyways, take care. Aloha. Chihu!